So welcome to Amsterdam. Behind me there, it doesn't get more Amsterdam than that, and this complete low light comparison test between the GoPro Hero 12 as well as the DJI Action 4. Now this video is entirely just a low light comparison test. I'm going to take you on a journey from a little bit before sunset all the way through to sunset and then beyond into darkness, passing through time periods like this, which is about a half an hour or so after sunset. Now while you're watching this footage, I want you to think about three things. Number one is that sensor size is just one of those pieces there. Yes, it matters to a degree, but if you look at this picture right now on the screen, these are all, not even all, these are a small portion of the components that matter to whether or not an image will actually look good in a camera. And frankly, in 2023, those factors generally matter more than the sensor size itself. Number two, you should judge an image based on how the image actually looks. But don't go all like fanboy, either for GoPro or for DJI, it doesn't really matter. Judge the image based on the core attributes, including stability, that's a core one. Two, whether or not it's well lit. Three, whether or not there's things like micro jitters or stuff like that. Four, whether or not it's sharp. And then five, just whether it looks like crap or not. Which gets to the last item, is that this video is definitely not sponsored by anyone. I don't care who you buy a camera from, whether it's GoPro or DJI or it's a 360 or just a giant potato if you want to. It does not matter. Just try to avoid the fanboyism down in the comments and enjoy the video. Oh, when it comes to settings, I asked each company what the preferred setting for low light was. In the case of GoPro, it is 4K 30 or 24 frames per second with the high bitrate settings enabled but not logged. In the case of DJI, it was also 4K 30 with low light enabled but not Rocksteady Plus, just regular Rocksteady. And likewise in the case of GoPro, not Boost, just regular Hyper Smooth 2.0. So those are the settings they have to live with. They've made their own bed. With that, let's dive into it. Now for this first set, I have Rocksteady Plus enabled. It's one of the only ones in there that actually has that enabled, but I wanted to show you because it is basically the exact scenario it's designed for. I'm out trail running, I'm on the mountain, it's late afternoon. In this case, I wanted to show you what happens when I'm in the shade compared to what you see later on, which is more normal darkness, etc. in the city. Somewhat lower light in here right now, just to see how things go. Now we're going in a bright spot, of course, but here we go into a back of the trees in a second. Overcast day. Just to see how those compare side by side. Look in particular at the overall brightness of the image and also the stabilization. Now we're full light here, full brightness. So look in particular at how I handle that out into the open. Not sure if you can see the mountains over there or not. And then back into the shade here. There we go. The sun has basically just gone down beyond the trees over there. It's not technically sunset yet, but it's pretty darn close. Sunset's another 20 minutes away, but you can see we're now out of the sun. So while the sunset has gone below the trees, it's not technically below the horizon yet. So now we're in the shade here. Try to find a little sunspot up here. I think we got a moment right up here around the corner. Gotta wiggle this just right so I don't hit the bottom. Boom, nailed it. Also, so I don't just get around this corner. There we go. Here's just a look at how I look in this light right now. Obviously the sun is just about set. I think I got 10 minutes at 8:10 right now. So 10 minutes was officially beyond the horizon there. But just found a little snippet of it out here, and super pretty night, nice and warm out here. I'll give you one of the best nights this summer despite being September at this point. So let's head on into town a bit more, get ourselves out of the woods. Maybe we'll go through the woods and find some darker spots here for just a second. So in this case, just doing a quick little run in the forest. Not running here, but I do have my shoes on, so that's positive. In particular, on the DJI side, you're looking at if there's any micro jitters as I run. And then on the GoPro side, really on both, what that low light looks like and whether or not it's acceptable. I'll turn around and I'll also show you my view as well. So here we go, turning around, going down to my shoes for fun. back up. And there we go, onto the city. Okay, so that moment right there, that last clip you saw was the moment we just switched over from basically the GoPro winning in terms of colors and stabilization and all that kind of stuff, including in the trees up before, to where the DJI wins. And it's essentially this dividing line that you're gonna see for the rest of the clips, where in the evening type scenarios, DJI is winning on exposure and stabilization. But for the daytime scenarios, that's where you tend to see GoPro win in those two categories. But just watch the rest of this video and remember that dividing line and kind of decide what you want your camera for. Okay, it's now 8:30. Basically, it's about 10 minutes or so after sunset. Just gonna go through Vondel Park here. Pedaling along through Vondel Park at the moment. Obviously on the bike, so effectively I'm acting as one like giant gimbal, but nonetheless you can just see how things look. Moving pretty fast here, about 25k an hour, so about 18 miles per hour. Essentially this is the first week back. In French you call it rentrée, return basically after the summer holidays, but I don't think a similar word exists here in Dutch, but basically all the schools started this week back in Amsterdam, and so everyone's enjoying out what has arguably been like the nicest weather we've had probably in 6 or 8 weeks, since probably June is my guess. This is the Rijksmuseum right here. We're gonna go through the building, pop up the other side of one of my favorite sections. Hey, it's me from later in the video. Just a quick interruption that if you are finding this useful, consider hitting subscribe or the like button. It really does help out this video and the channel quite a bit. Okay, now I want to stop here to show something. I showed this last time I did this as well. I'm going to turn off my lights so you can see this real quick. And I want you to pay attention to the coloring on the building up there, the lights in particular. So look at basically the restaurant sign up here and the Café Hon there, just to see how that looks. Decide for yourself. I'm going to pan over this way, see what that looks like, and back this direction as well. Okay, and now we'll head on back out of here. Lighting, the color, as well as the stabilization from the little bounces in the road here. It's pretty good overall, the stability of this road, but just some things to look at as we go through this little section. Anytime, of course, you hear the bouncing of the chain in the bike, tells you it's a bump, so you can kind of use that as a bit of an audio cue that there's some bumps in the road, and whether or not you see that for any given camera. Going down this section, it's definitely this section is a bit more bumpy, but not too bad overall. You can certainly hear it. And again, look and see what the stabilization looks like for each camera, how that handles, some bumps, little potholes and stuff. So handheld right now, still 8:45, but I'm gonna go across to the other section over here. It's a bit darker. I think what's interesting here is, certainly looking at the back of the screens, I would say that the Action 4 is lighting the scene a heck of a lot better. It's hard to tell, of course, exactly on these tiny little screens. And that's one of the things that, let me just turn this around so you can see me for a second. That's one of the things that people looked at my previous one, or the Hero 11 to the Action 4. But you can decide. That's the cool part of this. You can decide whether that's true or not, and which part of that you value more. Do you value more light in the scene, or do you value you know, some other component of it, whether it be stabilization or cleanliness of the image, etc. We're going to do a little walk and run test right now to see how things look walking along right now first, and just do a bit of a run down this pretty dark street. A couple street lights, but not too much. Here we go, just see how things are stability wise, as well as of course light. Flipping the camera around here. Turn around. Whoop. Back we go. Flipping around at me. Make sure no one steals my bike. Good times. There's a boat going by. Okay, here's that same street on the bike mount. It's a lot worse, of course, because again, I'm acting as that giant gimbal buffering everything, versus here, it's taking all those vibrations directly off the bike, through the mount, and yeah, it's probably not super awesome. Okay, here's a much brighter section of town, just to kind of show you what this looks like with a well-lit scene. So you can see obviously the tram going by right now, the police car, but even just the town, all the shops are lit up, and really look at the detail, and look at how things look side by side with these two cameras. So I'm just back on here so I don't get squished by any of the moving objects that are going around me right now. And of course, if you compare that to just over here, a much darker scene down this street. But again, kind of going back into the light over here, back into the street area, just to compare these two side by side. See, they time this light to a green light. There you go, impromptu model shot. When I lived in Paris, that was super common back there. And some photos that maybe more Instagram style. I don't see any big cameras out, but it doesn't really matter these days. Okay, green light, off we go. Okay, it's about to go from very bright to very dark in a matter of like 1 meter. As soon as we hit this big old bump right here. One of the things that's kind of fun is that, not fun, interesting I guess you could say, is that on the weekend that the clocks all go back, the police will do checks for bike lights. And actually they'll give you a ticket if you don't have a functional bike light, but they will also give you a bike light. You will literally pedal home with a bike light. So right now you're still like in the grace period where mostly kind of, you turn a blind eye towards it, but after that you will get a ticket if you don't have a functional bike light. 2 sets of bike lights, front and back. This is just a very simple test. I just want to see what the colors look like. It's really as simple as that. See how this looks from a coloring standpoint. There are many cool bike paths in the Netherlands, like ones through water and over solar panels and crazy stuff, but this one is just super cool. It's really fun just to see the colors in here. They're always changing, always moving, and yeah, there's lots of graffiti, but it kind of adds to it. It's a really neat little section, a bike path Definitely one of my favorite ones out there. And for fun, here's how I look within that whole scene as well. Also, you gotta watch out for the buses. So I'm out in the darkness right now. You can't see anything because well, you can see my watch probably. You just saw a little blip right there, but there's no other light here. And just to show that there's a point where any camera, especially action cameras, are going to fail. Let me just show the bike light on and wrap things up. I think at this point I've shown you everything you need to know about low light for you to make your own decision on which camera fits the bill for you and what you need. Your phone's almost always going to be better in low light scenarios for photo and video. You saw that in this video here itself, where my phone easily blew away both these action cameras without any problems at all. Of course, once it comes to action, then phones aren't usually the best option for that, but that's a whole separate video for another day. More on that here very, very shortly. With that, don't forget to whack that like button or hit subscribe for plenty more sports technology goodness. Have a good one.